Ryan Hale's hands were frozen to the steering wheel when he saw her. A woman's body slumped against a wrecked SUV, half buried in snow that had already started claiming her. He had 30 seconds to decide: keep driving to his daughter waiting at home, or stop for a stranger who might already be dead. But when he touched her neck and felt the faint pulse beneath skin cold as marble, everything changed. Because the woman he dragged from that storm wasn't just fighting for her life. She was running from people who'd already decided she didn't deserve one. If you're watching from somewhere warm tonight, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you make it to the end, hit that like button. Trust me, you'll want to. The storm hit Ryan Hale's windshield like God had emptied a bag of nails across Montana. Visibility was maybe 10 feet if he squinted hard enough, and even then all he saw was white chaos spinning under his headlights. His truck fought every mile, tires slipping on ice that had turned the mountain road into a death trap hours ago. He should have stayed home, should have told his boss that no transmission rebuild was worth dying for. But Frank had been clear on the phone. Client's paying triple if we finish tonight. You need this, Hale. And Ryan did need it. The stack of overdue bills on his kitchen counter wasn't getting smaller, and Emma's school was asking about February tuition like he hadn't already explained his situation 3 times. 7 years old, and his daughter was already learning that life didn't give a damn about fairness. So here he was at 11 p.m., driving through a blizzard that had shut down half the state, because triple pay meant he could maybe, possibly, keep the lights on through March. The radio crackled with another weather warning he didn't need. Ryan clicked it off. Silence filled the cab except for the heater rattling and the windshield wipers losing their battle against the snow. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. Probably Mrs. Chen checking in from next door where Emma was spending the night. He'd text back when he got to lower elevation, when his frozen fingers could actually work the screen. That's when his headlights caught something that shouldn't be there. A dark shape off the shoulder, barely visible through the sheets of white. Could have been a tree. Could have been a boulder. Could have been nothing. Ryan's foot moved toward the brake before his brain finished processing. The truck fishtailed, back end sliding toward the cliff edge that dropped 200 feet into nothing. He cursed and turned into the skid, heart hammering as the tires found purchase and the truck jerked to a stop. His hands shook on the wheel. Close. Too damn close. He sat there breathing hard, waiting for his pulse to slow. Then he looked in his rearview mirror at whatever the hell he'd almost died avoiding. Through the snow, he could just make out the rear end of a vehicle. Expensive-looking SUV, black or maybe dark blue. Driver's side buried in a snowbank. No lights. No movement. Ryan's first instinct was to keep driving. Mountain accidents happened all the time up here. Some city tourist with inadequate tires trying to make it to a ski lodge, probably already rescued by now. He had Emma waiting, had work waiting, had no business stopping for something that was probably already handled. But there were no other tire tracks on the road, no rescue vehicles, no flares or warning triangles. And it was 23 degrees outside. If someone was in that car, damn it, Ryan muttered. He threw the truck into reverse, backing up carefully until his headlights fully illuminated the wreck. It was a Mercedes GLS. Probably cost more than Ryan made in 2 years. The front end had slammed into a pine tree hard enough to buckle the hood, and the passenger side was completely buried under snow and ice. The storm had been dumping for hours, which meant this crash happened a while ago. Ryan grabbed his flashlight and pulled on the work gloves he kept behind the seat. The cold hit him like a fist when he opened the door. Wind screamed through the trees, carrying snow that stung exposed skin. He ducked his head and pushed toward the SUV, boots crunching through ice. The driver's side door was ajar. Ryan's flashlight beam cut through the interior. Empty driver's seat, deployed airbags, spiderweb cracks across the windshield. No blood that he could see, which was something. Maybe whoever had been driving really did get out, flagged down help, was already somewhere warm. Then his light caught movement on the other side of the vehicle. Not movement. A shape. Human-sized, slumped against the passenger door that was wedged into the snowbank. Ryan's stomach dropped. He fought his way around the front of the Mercedes, flashlight shaking in his grip. The figure didn't move as he approached, didn't respond when he called out. It was a woman, face down in the snow, one arm stretched toward the road like she'd been trying to crawl for help before the cold took her. She wore an expensive-looking coat, dark pants, boots that were designer but completely wrong for Montana winter. Her hair was plastered to her head, dark and wet, and ice had already started forming on her shoulders. "Ma'am?" Ryan's voice came out rough. He grabbed her shoulder and turned her over, expecting the worst. Her eyes were closed, lips blue, skin pale as paper. But when he pressed shaking fingers to her throat, he felt it. A pulse. Faint. Slow. But there. "Okay," he said, more to himself than her. "Okay. You're alive. Stay alive." He needed to get her warm, get her to a hospital. But the nearest medical center was 40 miles down a road that was currently undrivable, and her body temperature was already critical. She had minutes, not hours. Ryan looked back at his truck, looked at the woman dying in front of him, made a decision that would ruin every simple thing about his life. He got his arms under her and lifted. She was lighter than expected, her body limp and cold against his chest. He carried her to his truck, moving as fast as he dared on the ice, and managed to get the passenger door open without dropping her. The heater was still blasting. He laid her across the bench seat, pulled off her wet coat, found an emergency blanket in his supply kit, and wrapped it around her. Her breathing was shallow, too shallow. Ryan grabbed his phone, swore when he saw 0 bars. Of course, the storm had probably knocked out the cell tower, and they were too deep in the mountains for a signal anyway. He slammed the door and ran back to the Mercedes. Checked the glove box. Registration to some rental company, nothing useful. Checked under the seats, in the center console. Found her purse wedged under the passenger seat, leather and expensive. Inside was a wallet with no ID, just a bunch of cash and a single credit card with the name worn off. A dead phone, a small canvas bag with medications he didn't recognize, no address, no emergency contact, nothing that told him who the hell she was. But there was something else. Tucked in an interior pocket of the purse, he found a note. Handwritten, shaky letters. "They know. Don't trust anyone. Get to 49.2 degrees north, 114.3 degrees west." That was it. No signature. No context. Just coordinates and a warning that made Ryan's spine go cold. He shoved the note back in the purse, grabbed the bag of medications, and returned to his truck. The woman hadn't moved. Her face was still deathly pale, but color was starting to return to her lips. The heat was working. She just needed time. Ryan sat behind the wheel and stared at her. She looked mid-30s maybe, with sharp features that suggested she was used to getting what she wanted. Even unconscious and half-frozen, there was something elegant about her, something that didn't belong in a Montana blizzard or Ryan's beat-up Ford. The smart thing would be to drive to the sheriff's office, report the accident. Let professionals handle whatever this was. But the note in her purse made him hesitate. Don't trust anyone. And there was something else nagging at him. Something about the way the Mercedes had crashed. The front-end damage was consistent with hitting the tree, but the passenger door, wedged into that snowbank, looked like it had been forced open from the inside. Like she'd been trying to get out, not in. Like she'd been running from something. "Who the hell are you?" Ryan muttered. The woman's eyes fluttered. Her head turned slightly on the seat. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't hear over the heater. Ryan leaned closer. "What?" Her eyes opened. Dark eyes, unfocused and afraid, locking onto his face like he was the only thing keeping her tethered to consciousness. "They tried," she whispered. Her voice was hoarse, broken. "They tried to kill me." Then her eyes rolled back and she was gone again, lost to whatever darkness was pulling at her. Ryan sat frozen. The heater rattled. Wind screamed outside. And in his passenger seat was a woman who'd just said the one thing guaranteed to turn his already complicated life into a disaster. He looked at his phone again. Still no signal. Looked at the road ahead, barely visible through the storm. Looked at the woman who'd just accused someone of attempted murder. Every instinct said to drive straight to the sheriff. Let trained people handle this. But Sheriff Morgan was 62, 2 years from retirement, and spent most of his time dealing with drunk tourists and stolen ATVs. If this woman was telling the truth, if someone really had tried to kill her, then bringing cops into this might get her killed for real. Ryan didn't know her, didn't owe her anything, had no reason to trust that what she'd said was real and not just hypothermia-induced paranoia. But she'd looked at him with those terrified eyes and said they tried to kill me, and something in Ryan's chest responded to that. Something that remembered another woman's fear years ago and his failure to protect her when it mattered. "Damn it!" he said again. He put the truck in drive and headed home. The house was dark when Ryan pulled into his driveway. Mrs. Chen's lights were still on next door. He could see her TV flickering through the curtains. Emma would be asleep by now, curled up on the Chen's couch with her stuffed rabbit. Good. That bought him time to figure out what the hell he was doing. He carried the woman inside, moving quickly despite the weight. His house was small, a two-bedroom rental he could barely afford. He took her to his room, the only space with actual heat, and laid her on the bed, pulled the blankets up to her chin. She was still breathing, still unconscious, but her color looked better. Ryan stood there for a long moment, watching this stranger in his bed, wondering what kind of trouble he'd just invited into his home. Then he went to call Mrs. Chen. "Ryan, everything okay?" Mrs. Chen's voice was worried. "The roads are terrible. I wasn't expecting you back tonight." "Yeah, I'm fine. Listen, work's going to take longer than I thought. Any chance Emma can stay until morning?" Of course. She's sleeping like an angel. Don't you worry about her." "Thanks, Mrs. Chen. I owe you." "You don't owe me anything, dear. Just get home safe." Ryan hung up and returned to his bedroom. The woman hadn't moved. He checked her pulse again. Stronger now, more regular. That was good. He pulled off her wet boots, found more dry blankets, did everything he could think of to keep her warm and stable. Then he sat in the chair by his bed and waited because he had no idea what else to do. She woke up at 4 a.m. Ryan had dozed off, head tilted back against the chair, when he heard her gasp. His eyes snapped open. She was sitting up in bed, blankets pooled around her waist, eyes wide and darting around the unfamiliar room. "Hey," Ryan said, keeping his voice calm. "You're safe. You were in an accident. I found you on the mountain road." She turned to stare at him. Her hand went to her head, fingers pressing against her temple. "Where am I?" "My house. About 30 miles from where your car crashed." "My car." She said it like she was testing the words, trying to remember. "I was driving. There was a storm. I was trying to get away from—" She trailed off, confusion crossing her face. "I don't remember." "You told me something when I found you," Ryan said. "You said someone tried to kill you." Her eyes snapped to his, sharp and afraid. "I said that?" "Yeah. Any idea who? Say it." She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head slowly. "I don't know. Her breathing picked up, panic setting in. "I don't remember. Why don't I remember?" Ryan stood and moved closer, hands up in a non-threatening gesture. "Hey, it's okay. You hit your head pretty hard. The memories might come back." "Who are you?" "Ryan Hale. I work at a repair garage. I was driving home when I saw your car." "Ryan," she repeated, like she was filing it away. "And you brought me here instead of a hospital because you were dying and the nearest hospital is 40 miles through impassable roads. And because of the note I found in your purse." Her expression changed. "What note?" Ryan pulled it from his pocket and handed it to her. She read it, and something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe, or fear. "I wrote this. You remember?" "No, but that's my handwriting." She looked up at him. "What are the coordinates?" "No idea. I haven't had time to look them up." She pushed the blankets aside and tried to stand. Her legs wobbled and Ryan caught her elbow, steadying her. She was wearing his wife's old clothes. He'd changed her while she was unconscious, trying not to think too hard about the invasion of privacy. The shirt and sweatpants hung loose on her frame. "Easy," Ryan said. "You've been unconscious for 5 hours. Your body's still recovering. I need to leave." She pulled away from him, moving toward the door on unsteady legs. "If they're looking for me, if they find me here, they'll hurt you too." "Who's they?" "I don't know." She turned on him, and there was real anguish in her voice. "I don't know who. I don't know why. I don't know anything except that I'm supposed to be terrified, and I am." Ryan watched her. She was shaking, one hand gripping the doorframe for support. Whatever had happened to her, whoever had tried to kill her, it had broken something fundamental. He could see it in the way she held herself, in the fear that lived behind her eyes. "You got a name?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, opened her mouth like she was going to answer, then stopped. "I don't know if I should tell you. The less you know." I already know someone tried to murder you and you're on the run. Pretty sure that ship sailed. She studied him for a long moment, like she was weighing whether to trust him. Finally, she said, Vivian, that your real name? Does it matter? I guess not. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. Look, Vivian, I don't know what you're mixed up in, and I'm not sure I want to. But you're in no condition to go anywhere right now. It's still dark, still storming, and you can barely walk. So how about you get some rest, and in the morning we'll figure out where you go from here. I can't stay here. If they track me, nobody's tracking anything in this storm. The roads are shut down. Cell service is out. You're safe for now. She wanted to argue. He could see it in the set of her jaw, but exhaustion won out. She swayed on her feet and Ryan caught her again, guiding her back to the bed. Few hours, she said, almost pleading. Just a few hours, then I'll leave. Sure, Ryan said, knowing she wouldn't. Not in her condition. Few hours. She was asleep again before he got the blankets over her. Emma came home at 8 a.m., dragging her backpack and chattering about the pancakes Mrs. Chen had made. Ryan met her at the door, blocking her view of the hallway. Hey, Bug, listen, we've got a guest staying with us for a bit. Emma's eyes lit up. A guest? Who? Her name's Vivian. She was in a car accident last night. I found her on the mountain. Is she okay? She's going to be fine, but she's sleeping right now, so we need to be quiet, okay? Emma nodded seriously. She was good at quiet when it mattered. Too good sometimes. Ryan wondered what that said about the life he was giving her. They made breakfast together, keeping their voices low. Emma wanted to know everything about the accident, asking questions Ryan didn't have answers to. He deflected as best he could, not wanting to scare her, but Emma was sharp. She picked up on his tension. Are you worried about her? Emma asked, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. A little, Ryan admitted. Because of the accident? Because of a lot of things. Emma seemed to accept that. She finished her breakfast and went to watch cartoons, volume turned low. Ryan cleaned up, mind spinning through everything that had happened. The note, the coordinates, Vivian's terror and memory loss. None of it added up to anything good. He was washing dishes when he heard footsteps behind him. Vivian stood in the kitchen doorway, wearing the same borrowed clothes. Her hair was tangled, face still too pale, but she was upright and steady. She looked around the small kitchen like she was cataloging exits. Morning, Ryan said. Your daughter? Emma, she's 7, she's in the living room. Vivian's expression softened slightly. You should have told me you had a kid. I really can't stay here, Ryan. If something happened to her because of me, nothing's going to happen. Ryan dried his hands on a towel. Coffee? I need to leave. You need coffee and food. Then we'll talk about leaving. She looked like she wanted to argue. Instead, she sighed and sat at the kitchen table. Why are you helping me? Because you needed help. That's not a real answer. Ryan poured 2 cups of coffee, set one in front of her. My wife died 3 years ago. Car accident on this same stretch of mountain road. I found her too late. So when I saw you last night, I wasn't about to make the same mistake twice. Vivian wrapped her hands around the mug, staring into the black liquid. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. They sat in silence for a moment. From the living room came the sound of cartoon music, bright and cheerful. Normal life happening while everything else was falling apart. The coordinates? Vivian said suddenly. Did you look them up? Not yet. Can you? Ryan pulled out his phone. Service was back, weak but functional. He plugged the coordinates into a map app and waited for it to load. It's a location about 80 miles north of here, he said, studying the screen. Middle of nowhere, forest service land, looks like. Is there anything there? A building? A landmark? Not according to this. Just wilderness. Vivian's jaw tightened. That doesn't make sense. Why would I write down coordinates to nothing? Ziski? Maybe it made sense when you wrote it. Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was panicking and I wrote down the wrong numbers. She pushed the coffee away, standing abruptly. I need my things. Where's my purse? Bedroom. I'll get it. Ryan retrieved the purse and brought it back. Vivian dumped the contents on the table: wallet, dead phone, medications, the note. She sorted through everything with growing frustration. "There's nothing here," she said. "No ID, no phone contacts, nothing that tells me who I am or why someone wants me dead." "What about the medication?" She picked up the bottles, reading the labels. "This is for anxiety. This is for migraines. Nothing unusual." She set them down hard. "I have fragments. I remember driving. I remember being afraid. I remember thinking I had to get to those coordinates, but everything else is just fog." "Trauma can do that," Ryan said. "Give it time." "I don't have time." She looked at him with those dark, desperate eyes. "Every hour I'm here is another hour they could be getting closer." Before Ryan could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway, stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. She looked at Vivian with open curiosity. "Hi," Emma said. "I'm Emma. Are you the lady from the accident?" Vivian's expression changed completely. The fear and tension melted away, replaced by something softer. "Yes, I am. My name's Vivian." "Did it hurt?" "Emma?" Ryan warned. "It's okay." Vivian crouched down to Emma's level. "It did hurt a little, but your dad found me and helped me, so now I'm feeling much better." "That's good. My dad's really good at fixing things." Emma held up her rabbit. "This is Mr. Hoppy. He keeps the bad dreams away." "That's a very important job for a rabbit." "Do you have bad dreams?" "Yes." Ryan started to intervene, but Vivian answered before he could. "Sometimes, but I think maybe Mr. Hoppy's magic is working, because I slept pretty well last night." Emma beamed. Then she looked at Ryan. "Can Vivian stay for breakfast? We have extra eggs." "Vivian was just leaving," Ryan said carefully. But Emma's face fell, and Vivian seemed to notice. She looked at the little girl, then at Ryan, then back at Emma. "Maybe I could stay for breakfast," Vivian said quietly. "If that's okay with your dad." Emma looked at Ryan with hopeful eyes, and Ryan, who had been planning to help Vivian leave as soon as possible, found himself nodding. "Yeah," he said. "Breakfast would be fine." Emma grabbed Vivian's hand and pulled her toward the living room, chattering about cartoons and Mr. Hoppy's adventures. Vivian let herself be led, glancing back at Ryan with an expression he couldn't quite read. And Ryan stood in his kitchen, watching a wanted woman bond with his daughter, and wondered what the hell he'd gotten them into. Vivian stayed for breakfast. Then she stayed for lunch. By dinner, Ryan had stopped asking when she planned to leave because the answer was becoming obvious. She had nowhere to go. 3 days passed. The storm finally broke on the 4th morning, leaving the world white and silent. Ryan stood at his kitchen window watching Emma build a lopsided snowman in the yard, while Vivian sat at the table behind him, staring at her dead phone like it might suddenly come back to life and explain everything. "I should charge this," she said. "See if there's anything on it." "Bad idea." Ryan refilled his coffee. "The second you turn that on, anyone looking for you can track it." "You watch too many movies." "Maybe. But you're the one who wrote 'Don't trust anyone' on a piece of paper, so forgive me for being cautious." Vivian set the phone down. She'd been sleeping on the couch, refusing to take Ryan's bed after that first night. Emma had taken to her with the easy affection of a 7-year-old who didn't understand danger, asking Vivian endless questions about where she came from and why she talked so proper, and if she'd ever seen a real castle. Vivian answered what she could, which wasn't much, but she was patient with Emma in a way that surprised Ryan. Gentle. Like she'd had practice with kids before, even if she couldn't remember it. "Your daughter asked me this morning if I was going to live here now," Vivian said. Ryan turned from the window. "What did you tell her?" "That I didn't know, which is true." She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, a habit Ryan had noticed she did when she was nervous. "I can't remember my life, Ryan. I don't know if I have a home. Don't know if I have people looking for me. The only thing I know for certain is that someone wanted me dead and I was running. And those coordinates, which lead to nothing." Ryan had driven out to the location 2 days ago while Emma was at school and Vivian was sleeping off another headache. He'd found exactly what the map had shown. Dense forest, no structures, no signs of civilization. He'd hiked around for an hour in knee-deep snow before giving up. Whatever Vivian had been looking for, it wasn't there anymore. or she'd written down the wrong numbers, or the whole thing was a dead end. Maybe we're looking at this wrong, Ryan said. Maybe it's not about what's at those coordinates. Maybe it's about who knows them. What do you mean? You wrote them down for a reason, which means they were important, which means someone else might know about them too. Someone you trusted. Vivian's expression darkened. Or someone I was running from. Before Ryan could respond, Emma burst through the door in a blast of cold air and enthusiasm. Vivian, come see my snowman. He needs a face. Emma, Vivian's busy. It's fine. Vivian stood, and Ryan saw the relief in her posture. She wanted the distraction, wanted to stop thinking about the gaps in her memory. Let's go make your snowman beautiful. They went outside together, Emma chattering and Vivian listening. Ryan watched them through the window, this strange woman and his daughter, and felt something tighten in his chest. Emma had been different these past few days. Lighter. She laughed more, talked more, stayed up later telling Vivian stories about school and her friends. It was like having another adult in the house had filled some hole Ryan hadn't known his daughter was carrying, and that scared him. Because when Vivian left, and she would leave, they both knew it, Emma was going to feel that absence hard. His phone rang. Frank from the garage. Hale, where the hell are you? You missed 2 shifts. I know. I'm sorry. Family emergency. Everything okay with Emma? She's fine. It's complicated. Frank sighed on the other end. Look, I like you, but I can't keep giving you passes. You miss another shift, and I'm going to have to let you go. Ryan closed his eyes. He couldn't afford to lose this job. I'll be there tomorrow. 6 a.m. sharp. Don't make me regret this. The line went dead. Ryan set his phone down and stared at it, running numbers in his head. He had maybe $200 in his account. Rent was due in a week. Emma needed new shoes. The truck needed an oil change, and he was still paying off the medical bills from Sarah's accident 3 years ago. 1 missed shift he could survive. 2 was pushing it. 3 would sink him. But what was he supposed to do? Leave Vivian alone in his house while he worked 12-hour days? Hope that whoever tried to kill her didn't show up while he was gone? Take Emma with him and pray nothing happened? There were no good options, just varying degrees of terrible. He was still wrestling with it when Vivian and Emma came back inside, both red-cheeked and laughing. Emma had snow in her hair and Vivian had snow down her back, and for just a moment they looked like a normal family doing normal things. Dad, can Vivian read me a story tonight? Emma asked, already pulling off her wet boots. If she wants to, Ryan said carefully. I'd like that, Vivian said, and she meant it, Ryan could tell. That night after Emma was asleep, Vivian found Ryan in the kitchen. He was bent over the table with a calculator and a stack of bills, trying to make math work that simply wouldn't. You're worried about money, she said. I'm always worried about money. Because of me. Ryan looked up. That's not... It is. She sat across from him. You've been home for 3 days taking care of me instead of working. How much have you lost? Doesn't matter. Shit. It does to me. She was quiet for a moment, studying him. Let me pay you back. With what? You don't have anything. I have cash in my purse. That's yours. Ryan, please. I don't even know where it came from. Let me do something useful with it. She went to retrieve her purse and came back with a stack of bills that made Ryan's stomach drop. Had to be at least $2,000, maybe more. Way too much for someone to carry around unless they were running. I can't take that, Ryan said. Why not? Because it's yours. Because you might need it. Because I didn't help you for money. I know you didn't. She set the cash on the table between them. That's why I want you to take it, please. I'm already terrified I'm going to get your daughter hurt just by being here. At least let me make sure you can keep a roof over her head. Ryan stared at the money. It would solve everything. Would buy him time to figure out what to do next, time to keep his job, time to breathe. But taking money from a woman who'd lost everything felt wrong in a way he couldn't articulate. What if you remember? He asked. What if you remember where this came from and you need it? Then I'll figure it out. I'm good at figuring things out, I think. It's one of the only things I know about myself. There was something in her voice when she said it. Confidence, buried under all the fear. Like whoever she'd been before the crash, she'd been someone who solved problems. Ryan took $500, left the rest on the table. That's it, he said. And it's a loan. When you get back on your feet, you pay me back. Deal. She gathered up the remaining cash. Thank you for everything. I know I haven't said it enough. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You saved my life, Ryan. You're still saving it. And I don't know how to repay that except with money I'm not even sure is mine, and gratitude that probably doesn't feel like enough. Ryan met her eyes. They were clearer tonight, more focused. The headaches had been getting better, and with them, bits of memory seemed to be returning. She'd mentioned yesterday that she thought she lived somewhere cold, somewhere with buildings made of glass and steel. Not much to go on, but it was more than the nothing she'd started with. Stay as long as you need, Ryan said. But I go back to work tomorrow, which means you'll be alone here during the day with Emma at school. You feel unsafe? You call me immediately. Numbers on the fridge. I'll be fine. Vivian? She smiled slightly. I'll call if I need you, I promise. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that when trouble came, it would come too fast for phone calls. He was right. It started small. Ryan left for work at 5:30 the next morning while Vivian was still asleep on the couch. He got Emma up at 7, made her breakfast, walked her to the bus stop like always. Normal morning, normal routine. Nothing felt wrong. He was 2 hours into rebuilding an engine block when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him. Yeah? Yamachi ui.com. Mr. Hale? A man's voice, professional and cold. My name is Detective Carter. I'm with the Montana State Police. I need to ask you some questions about an abandoned vehicle we found on Route 89. Ryan's grip tightened on the phone. What kind of questions? What? Pawn. The vehicle in question is a Mercedes GLS registered to a rental agency in Seattle. It was reported abandoned 4 days ago during the storm. We recovered it yesterday. The rental agreement was signed by a woman named Vivian Laurent. Do you know anyone by that name? Laurent. That was new. Vivian hadn't mentioned a last name. No, Ryan lied. Should I? We have reason to believe Miss Laurent may have been injured in the accident. We're trying to locate her to ensure her safety. If you saw anything unusual on the road that night, any signs of a crash or someone who might have needed help. Ryan's mind raced. Detective Carter sounded legitimate, but Vivian's note said, "Don't trust anyone," and she'd been terrified enough to write that down. I didn't see anything, Ryan said. Storm was bad. I kept my head down and got home. There was a pause. You work at Hanson's garage, correct? That's right. And you drove home along Route 89 the night of the storm? Yeah. Mr. Hale, I'm going to be direct with you. Ms. Sheets, Laurent is a person of significant interest in a very serious investigation. If you're harboring her, if you've had any contact with her, you need to tell me now. Protecting her isn't helping her. It's putting you and anyone around you in danger. Ryan felt ice in his veins. I don't know what you're talking about. We pulled security footage from a gas station 20 miles from the crash site. Your truck was there at 11:47 p.m., 15 minutes after our estimated time of the accident. Damn it, Ryan had stopped for gas before heading up the mountain. He'd forgotten about the cameras. So I stopped for gas, Ryan said. That doesn't mean I saw anything. It means you were in the area. It means you had opportunity. And it means I'm going to need you to come down to the station and make a formal statement. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but Ms. Laurent is wanted for questioning in connection with corporate espionage, fraud, and theft of proprietary information worth over $9 billion. Anyone assisting her could face serious federal charges, so I suggest you think very carefully about what you tell me. The line went dead. Ryan stood there at the garage, covered in grease and terror, while Frank yelled something about torque specs. $9 billion. Corporate espionage. Vivian wasn't just running from someone who wanted her dead. She was running from the law. Or someone was making it look that way. He called his house. No answer. Called again. Still nothing. Tried Vivian's dead phone, knowing it was pointless. Sent a text. Call me now. Nothing. Hale! Frank was in front of him now, annoyed. You okay? You look like you're gonna puke. I need to go home. What? You just got here. Family emergency. I'm sorry. Ryan didn't wait for permission. He grabbed his keys and ran for his truck, Frank shouting after him about responsibility and final warnings. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was getting to Vivian before the police did. He made the 30-minute drive in 20, taking corners too fast and blowing through stop signs. His phone buzzed with texts from Frank firing him. Ryan ignored them. When he pulled into his driveway, he saw immediately that something was wrong. The front door was open. Ryan killed the engine and approached carefully. Vivian? Ipako uti o basa. No answer. He stepped inside. The house was torn apart. Couch cushions slashed open. Drawers emptied onto the floor. His bedroom door kicked in. They'd been looking for something, and they'd been thorough. Vivian! Ryan checked every room. Empty. All of them. She was gone. His heart hammered. He pulled out his phone to call the police, then stopped. Detective Carter had already shown he knew where Ryan lived. If the cops had taken Vivian, they wouldn't have torn his house apart. This was someone else. He found her purse in the bathroom, the remaining cash gone. Her medication scattered across the floor. And on the mirror, written in lipstick, a message. Stop looking or the girl dies next. Emma. Ryan's blood turned to ice. He checked his watch. 1:15 p.m. Emma got out of school at 3. He had time. He had to have time. He ran for his truck and drove straight to the elementary school, parked in the loading zone and sprinted inside, past the security desk, ignoring the secretary calling after him. He found Emma's classroom and burst through the door. 20 second graders and their teacher turned to stare at him. Emma was at her desk, safe and confused. Dad? Relief hit Ryan so hard he nearly collapsed. We need to go. Now. Mr. Hale, you can't just... The teacher started. It's an emergency. He grabbed Emma's backpack and took her hand. She came without argument, sensing his panic. They were back in the truck before anyone could stop them. Dad, what's happening? Emma's voice was small. Where's Vivian? I don't know, Bug, but we're going to find her. He drove. No destination in mind, just away. Away from his house, away from the school, away from anywhere someone might be looking. Emma sat silent beside him, clutching Mr. Hoppy, picking up on Ryan's fear in the way kids do. His phone rang. Unknown number again. Ryan answered. Mr. Hale. A different voice this time, male, smooth, with an accent Ryan couldn't place. I apologize for the mess at your residence. My associates can be a bit overzealous. Where is she? Safe. For now. She's a very difficult woman to contain, Mr. Hale. I'm sure you've noticed. What do you want? Simple. Stop interfering. Ms. Laurent has something that belongs to me, and she's going to give it back. You've been a gracious host, but your part in this story is over. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't have whatever you think she has. The man laughed. Oh, she remembers. The amnesia was a convenient lie. Vivian is very good at lying. It's one of her many talents. You're wrong. Am I? Did she tell you who she really is? Did she mention the company she built, the empire she controls, the very dangerous people she's betrayed? Of course not. Because Vivian Laurent doesn't trust anyone, not even the man foolish enough to save her. Ryan's hands tightened on the wheel. If you hurt her, you'll do what? You're a mechanic, Mr. Hale, a single father barely keeping his head above water. You're out of your depth. Go home. Take care of your daughter. Forget you ever met Vivian Laurent. Not happening. Then you're an idiot. The smoothness in the man's voice turned cold. An idiocy has consequences. Watch your back, Mr. Hale, and watch your daughters. The line went dead. Ryan drove for another hour, checking his mirrors constantly, making random turns, trying to spot anyone following them. Emma eventually fell asleep against the window, exhausted from the adrenaline. Ryan's mind spun through everything the man had said. Vivian Laurent, a company, an empire, $9 billion. Who the hell had he brought into his home? He pulled into a diner parking lot off the highway and sat there, engine running, trying to think. He couldn't go home, couldn't go to the police, couldn't trust anyone. And somewhere out there, Vivian was in the hands of people who wanted whatever she'd taken badly enough to threaten a 7-year-old. Ryan pulled out the note Vivian had written. The coordinates. He checked the location and found nothing, but maybe he'd missed something. Maybe there was more there than just empty forest. Or maybe Vivian had lied about everything, and he was a fool for trusting her. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. There's a motel 6 miles north, room 23. Be there in 1 hour. Come alone, or don't come at all. Ryan stared at the message. It could be a trap. Probably was a trap, but it was also the only lead he had. He looked at Emma sleeping in the passenger seat, looked at the road ahead, made a decision. 20 minutes later, he pulled into the parking lot of a rundown motel that looked like it charged by the hour. He left Emma in the truck, locked, with instructions not to open the door for anyone but him. She was awake now, scared but trying to be brave. I'll be right back, Ryan said. 10 minutes, okay? What if you're not? Then you call Mrs. Chen. Her number's in my phone. Tell her to come get you. Dad, I'm scared. Me too, Bug, but I need you to be brave for just a little longer. He kissed her forehead and walked toward room 23. The door was unlocked. Ryan pushed it open. Vivian sat on the bed, hands zip-tied in front of her, lips split, bruise forming on her cheekbone. She looked up when he entered, and the relief in her eyes was so profound it hurt. Ryan, thank God. Are you okay? I've been better. She gestured to the ties. They left me here. Said someone would be coming. I thought it was them. Ryan crossed the room and used his pocket knife to cut the zip ties. Vivian rubbed her wrists, wincing. How did you find me? They texted me the location. They? She stood up fast, alarm crossing her face. Ryan, it's a trap. They want you here. They want... The door slammed open behind them. 3 men walked in, all muscle and cold eyes. The one in front smiled at Ryan. Right on time, he said. Ryan moved to put himself between the men and Vivian. Let her go. Can't do that. But I appreciate the heroics. Really, it's touching. The man pulled a gun from his jacket. Here's what's going to happen. Miss Laurent is going to tell us where she hid the files, or I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap. Then the other one. Then we move on to more creative options. I told you, Vivian said, voice shaking. I don't remember. We're past that. The man aimed the gun at Ryan's leg. One last time. Where are the files? Vivian looked at Ryan. Something passed between them. Then she said, the coordinates. They're buried at the coordinates. The man lowered the gun slightly. The ones you wrote down? Yes, there's a dead drop underground. That's where everything is. You're lying. I'm not. I swear. Just let him go and I'll take you there. The man considered this. Then he nodded to the other two. Take them both. If she's lying, we kill him first. They grabbed Ryan and Vivian, forcing them outside. Ryan tried to fight, but one of them hit him hard in the stomach and he went down gasping. They dragged him toward a black SUV. That's when Emma screamed. Ryan's head snapped up. Emma had gotten out of the truck, was running toward him. One of the men turned, saw her, started to raise his weapon. Ryan didn't think. He threw himself at the man, hitting him low and hard. They went down together, the gun skittering across asphalt. Ryan scrambled for it, but the other man kicked him in the ribs. Pain exploded through his side. Emma, run! Ryan shouted. But Emma didn't run. She stood frozen, clutching Mr. Hoppy, watching her father get beaten in a motel parking lot. Then Vivian moved. She grabbed the gun off the ground, spun, and fired twice. The shots were deafening. Both men went down, one clutching his shoulder, the other his thigh. The third man lunged for Vivian, but she pivoted, bringing the gun up to his face. Don't, she said. Her voice was different now, harder. On the ground, now. He complied. Vivian kept the gun trained on him, hands steady, no hesitation. This wasn't a woman who'd forgotten who she was. This was someone who knew exactly how to use a weapon. Ryan stared at her, bleeding and confused. Vivian? She didn't look at him. Get Emma in the truck. We're leaving. You shot them. They'll live. Get Emma. Ryan stumbled to his feet and ran to Emma. She was crying now, shaking. He scooped her up and carried her to his truck, put her in the back seat, and climbed behind the wheel. Vivian backed toward the truck, gun still aimed at the men on the ground. She got in the passenger seat and slammed the door. Drive. Ryan drove. Behind them, the men struggled to their feet. Ryan watched in the mirror as they limped toward their SUV. They'd be following soon. Where am I going? Ryan asked. The coordinates. We're going to the coordinates. There's nothing there. There is now. Vivian finally looked at him. I remember, Ryan. I remember everything. All right. Ryan's hands shook on the wheel as he pushed the truck north, watching the rearview mirror for headlights that would mean they'd been found. Emma had stopped crying, but she hadn't said a word since they left the motel, just sat in the back seat holding Mr. Hoppy so tight the stuffing was probably coming out. The gun sat between Ryan and Vivian like a third passenger nobody wanted to acknowledge. You remember everything, Ryan said. His voice came out flat. When? This morning. It came back in pieces at first, then all at once. Vivian stared out the windshield. I wasn't lying about the amnesia, Ryan. The crash really did mess with my head. But when those men broke into your house, when I saw what they were capable of, something clicked. Who are you? I told you, Vivian Laurent. That's not what I'm asking. What? She was quiet for a long moment. I built a company called Nexus Technologies. We started with security software, grew into surveillance systems, data analytics. By the time I was 30, we were worth $11 billion and contracted with governments, corporations, law enforcement agencies across 40 countries. Ryan processed this. You're a billionaire. Was. Maybe still am, depending on whether Damien's managed to take it all. She rubbed her wrists where the zip ties had cut into skin. Damien Cross. He was my CFO, also my fiancé, which in retrospect was a spectacular lapse in judgment. He's the one who tried to kill you. Yes. Why? Because I found out what he was really doing with our technology. Vivian's jaw tightened. Nexus was supposed to help people. Our software prevented terrorist attacks, stopped human trafficking, protected children online. That was the mission. That was what I built. But Damien found a way to weaponize it. He created a backdoor into our entire surveillance network and sold access to anyone willing to pay. Foreign governments, criminal organizations, anyone who wanted to spy on millions of people without their knowledge. Ryan felt sick. How many people? Last count? About 47 million. Most don't know they're being watched. Their phones, their laptops, their security cameras, all compromised. And Damien was making a fortune selling their data, their secrets, their private lives to the highest bidder. So you tried to expose him. I tried. I gathered evidence, documented everything, but Damien found out before I could go public. He convinced my board I was having a mental breakdown. Convinced them I was paranoid, unstable, dangerous to the company. They voted to remove me as CEO. And then he tried to kill you. Not immediately. First, he tried to have me committed. When that didn't work, when I ran instead of playing the role of crazy ex-girlfriend, he decided it was easier to just eliminate the problem. She finally looked at Ryan. That night on the mountain, I wasn't just running from him. I was running to someone who could help me, someone I trusted with the evidence I'd collected. The coordinates. Yes. My head of security, Marcus Webb. He was former FBI, one of the few people who believed me. We arranged a dead drop at those coordinates. I was supposed to meet him there, hand over encrypted drives containing everything Damien had done. But they caught up to me first, ran me off the road. Ryan glanced in the mirror again. Still no headlights, in the sun. But that didn't mean they weren't coming. If you gave this Marcus guy the evidence, why didn't he do something with it? Because I never made it to the drop, and without my encryption key, the drives are worthless. Just random data. Damien knows this. That's why he's been hunting me. Not just to silence me, but to get the key. Which is what exactly? Vivian touched her temple. Up here. A 40-digit alphanumeric sequence I memorized. The only copy. If I die, the evidence dies with me. If I give it to Damien, 47 million people stay compromised and he walks away clean. From the back seat, Emma's small voice broke the silence. Are you really a billionaire? Vivian turned around, her expression softened. I was. I'm not sure what I am anymore. Well, why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't remember. And then when I did remember, I was afraid you'd send me away. Why would we send you away? Jesus. Because I brought dangerous people to your home, sweetheart. Because your dad got hurt because of me. Because you're in this truck running for your life instead of being safe at school where you belong. Emma considered this. But you saved us. You shot those bad men. Emma, Ryan started. You did, Emma insisted. They were going to hurt Dad and you stopped them. That makes you brave. Vivian's eyes got bright. She turned back to face forward, jaw working like she was trying not to cry. I should have been honest from the beginning. Would have been nice, Ryan agreed. His ribs ached where he'd been kicked. His knuckles were split. He needed to get Emma somewhere safe. Needed to figure out what the hell they were going to do next. But first they needed to reach those coordinates. This Marcus Webb, you trust him? With my life. He's the only person in the company Damien couldn't buy or threaten. And if he's not there, if something happened to him, then we're on our own. The forest got denser as they drove. Snow piled higher on the sides of the road. Ryan had to slow down when they left the highway for a smaller route, then slow down more when that turned to gravel, then dirt. His GPS said they were close, but the road was barely passable, tree branches scraping the sides of his truck. There, Vivian said, pointing. That clearing. Ryan pulled off what was left of the road and into a small open space surrounded by pines. The coordinates led here, to the middle of nowhere, to trees and snow and silence. He killed the engine. Stay in the truck, he told Emma. I don't want to stay alone. Bug, I need you to... She can come with us, Vivian interrupted. We don't split up. Not now. Ryan wanted to argue, but he looked at Emma's face, at the fear there, and knew Vivian was right. They'd already left her alone once today, and she'd nearly gotten shot for it. Better to keep her close. They got out into cold that bit through jackets. Emma stayed between Ryan and Vivian as they moved into the trees, following GPS coordinates on Ryan's phone. The snow was deep here, untouched, no sign anyone had been through recently. Marcus said he'd bury the container under a lightning-struck pine, Vivian said. Something easy to identify. They found it 20 yards in, a massive tree split down the middle, black char running down the trunk. Vivian went to it and started digging in the snow at its base. Ryan joined her, both of them scraping with bare hands until they hit something solid. A metal box. Military grade, waterproof. Vivian pulled it out and brushed off the snow. There was a combination lock. Do you know the code? Ryan asked. Yes. She spun the numbers and the lock clicked open. Inside were 4 external hard drives, each labeled with dates, and a burner phone wrapped in plastic. Vivian grabbed the phone first, powered it on. It had one contact saved, Marcus. She called. It rang 6 times before someone answered. Who is this? A man's voice wary. Marcus, it's me. Silence. Then, Vivian, Jesus Christ, we thought you were dead. Where are you? Montana, about 80 miles north of Glacier. I'm at the drop site. You need to get out of there now. Damien has people watching every location connected to you. If you're at the coordinates, they already found me. We're running. We? I'm with someone who helped me, and his daughter. Vivian, no, you can't involve civilians in this. Cool. I didn't have a choice. Marcus, I have the drives. I have the encryption key. I need to know how to get this evidence to someone who can actually do something with it. More silence. The FBI won't touch it. Damien's already spun a story that you're the one behind the illegal surveillance. He's got federal agents believing you're trying to frame him. That's impossible. The evidence doesn't matter if nobody will look at it. He's got people in DOJ, Homeland Security, half the tech oversight committees. You're not just fighting Damien, you're fighting everyone he's bought. Vivian closed her eyes. Then what do I do? Go public. Find a journalist you trust and dump everything. Get it on record before they can bury it. But Vivian, once you do that, there's no going back. They'll come at you with everything they have. They're already coming at me with everything they have. Not like this. Right now you're a fugitive. You go public, you become a target. Every 3-letter agency will want you locked up or dead. You sure you're ready for that? Vivian looked at Ryan, at Emma standing next to him, small and scared and trusting, at the life she'd accidentally dragged them into. I don't have another option. she said. Okay. I know someone at the Washington Post. Investigative reporter, won't back down from a fight. I'll reach out, set up a meeting. Where? Seattle. There's a secure location I use for situations like this. I'll text you the address. How long will it take? 48 hours. Can you stay hidden that long? I'll figure it out. Oh, Vivian, listen to me. Damien's desperate. He knows if this evidence gets out, he's done. He'll do anything to stop you. Anything. Watch your back. I will. Thank you, Marcus. She hung up. The phone buzzed a moment later with an address. Seattle's 6 hours from here, Ryan said. We can drive it, but they'll be looking for my truck. We need to ditch it, find another vehicle. With what money? Vivian pulled out the remaining cash from her purse. This should be enough for a used car. Something that won't draw attention. You shot 2 men. Police are probably looking for us already. They didn't report it. Can't report it without admitting why they grabbed us. Ryan wanted to argue, but she was probably right. Men like that didn't involve cops. They handled problems themselves. There's a town about 30 miles west, Ryan said. Small place. Mostly farms. Might be able to find someone selling a vehicle. Then that's where we go. They loaded the drives into Ryan's backpack and returned to the truck. Emma climbed in back without being asked, still clutching Mr. Hoppy. She hadn't said much since Vivian shot those men. Ryan wondered what kind of therapy bills he was looking at down the road, assuming they survived this. The drive to the town took an hour on bad roads. Ryan kept checking mirrors, kept expecting black SUVs to appear. But the forest stayed empty behind them. The town was called Porter Ridge. Population maybe 800. One main street, a gas station, a diner that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. Ryan pulled into the lot of a combination hardware store and feed supply. Wait here, he told Vivian. I should come with you. You're the one they're looking for. I'm just some guy buying supplies. He went inside. The clerk was an older man with weathered skin and suspicious eyes. Ryan browsed for a minute, picking up things he didn't need before approaching the counter. You know anyone selling a truck? Ryan asked. Mine's on its last legs, looking for something reliable. The clerk studied him. How much you looking to spend? 2,000 cash. Cash, huh? The man's expression shifted slightly. My nephew's got an old Explorer he's trying to unload. Runs decent. Needs a new muffler, but the engine's solid. How old? 98. Lot of miles, but she's still kicking. Can I see it? 20 minutes later, Ryan was handing over cash for a forest green Explorer that smelled like cigarettes and had a cracked windshield. But the engine turned over and the tires had tread. Good enough. He drove it back to where he'd left his truck. Vivian and Emma were waiting, tense. We need to move the gear, Ryan said. They transferred Emma's backpack, the drives, what little supplies Ryan had. He felt a pang leaving his truck behind. He'd had that Ford for 8 years. It had been Sarah's before the accident, but sentimentality was a luxury he couldn't afford. What about your truck? Vivian asked. Leave it. Someone will find it eventually. They'll trace it to you. They already know who I am. Doesn't matter anymore. They got in the Explorer. Ryan behind the wheel, Vivian in the passenger seat, Emma in the back. The new vehicle felt strange, wrong, but it was anonymous, and anonymous was what they needed. They drove west, skirting around Glacier, avoiding highways. Vivian navigated using the burner phone, finding back roads that added time but kept them off main routes. Emma fell asleep around hour 3, exhausted. Vivian kept the gun in her lap, eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Can I ask you something? Ryan said quietly. Yeah. In that motel room, you knew how to shoot. You knew how to handle yourself. That's not normal billionaire CEO behavior. No, it's not. Vivian was silent for a moment. My father was military, special forces. He taught me young, said the world was dangerous for women who had power, that I needed to know how to protect myself. I thought he was being paranoid. Turns out he was just being realistic. He's still alive? Died 10 years ago, car accident. She said it without emotion. Or at least that's what they told me. Now I wonder. So Ryan understood what she wasn't saying. When you discovered that the person you trusted most was trying to kill you, you started questioning everything you thought you knew. What about Emma's mother? Vivian asked. You said she died 3 years ago. Yeah, same stretch of mountain road where I found you. Black ice, lost control, went over the edge. Ryan's hands tightened on the wheel. I was supposed to be driving that night, but I had to work late, so Sarah went to pick up Emma from a birthday party instead. If I'd just left work on time, if I'd been the one driving, you'd be dead and Emma would have lost both parents. Maybe. No, maybe about it. You can't think like that, Ryan. You can't carry guilt for things outside your control. You telling me you don't carry guilt for what Damien did? That's different. I created the technology. I gave him access. I trusted him. You didn't know what he'd do with it. I should have. I should have seen what he was. She looked out the window at the darkening landscape. He proposed to me 6 months before I found the back door. We were at this restaurant overlooking Puget Sound, and he got down on one knee with this ridiculous diamond ring. Everyone in the restaurant was watching, and I said yes because I loved him, because I thought he believed in the same things I did. When did you realize you were wrong? The night I accessed the hidden server logs. I was working late, trying to debug some software issues, and I found file transfers that shouldn't exist. Data going to IP addresses I didn't recognize. I started tracing them, following the digital trail, and it led straight to Damien's private accounts. He was selling access to our surveillance network for $10 million a transaction. Had been doing it for 3 years. What did you do? I confronted him, walked into his office at 2 in the morning with printouts of everything I'd found. I was shaking. I remember my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the papers. And you know what he did? He smiled. Told me I was being naive. Told me our technology was too powerful not to monetize properly. That we could be making billions instead of millions if I just stopped being so idealistic. And when you refused? He kissed me, told me to think about it. Told me we could run the company together, really run it, be partners in something bigger than my small-minded ethics. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I think that's when I knew he was going to try to kill me, because he looked at me like I was a problem that needed solving, like I was just another obstacle in his way. So you grabbed the evidence and ran. Not immediately. I tried doing it the right way first, went to the board, showed them the proof. But Damien had already gotten to them. He'd spent months planting seeds, making comments about how stressed I was, how erratic I'd been acting. By the time I showed them the evidence, they were primed to believe I was having a breakdown. They voted to remove me 12-1. Someone voted for you. What's it? Marcus. He was the only one. She touched the phone in her lap. He pulled me aside after the meeting, told me I needed to disappear for a while, that we'd work together to build a case the FBI couldn't ignore. So I took what I could carry and I ran. Oops, and Damien sent people after you. Within hours, I had a head start, but not much of one. She looked at him. I've been running for 2 weeks, Ryan. That night you found me, I was so tired, so done. Part of me wondered if it would be easier to just let the cold take me. Then I woke up in your bed, and your daughter was showing me her stuffed rabbit, and I thought maybe the universe was giving me a reason to keep fighting. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. They drove in silence for a while, the road unwinding in front of them, darkness settling over the mountains. We should stop for the night. Vivian said eventually, find somewhere to rest. We're no good to anyone if we're exhausted. Too risky. They could be tracking us. They could, but Emma needs sleep and so do you. There's a motel coming up in 15 miles. We'll pay cash, park around back, one of us on watch while the other sleeps. Ryan wanted to keep driving, but she was right. He could feel exhaustion pulling at him, his reaction time slowing, and Emma needed more than a cramped back seat. The motel was called the Pine Rest Inn and looked exactly like every other roadside motel in Montana. Ryan paid cash for a room and they parked the Explorer where it couldn't be seen from the road. The room was small, 2 beds and a bathroom, carpet that had seen better decades. I'll take first watch, Vivian said. You need sleep too. I'll wake you in 4 hours. Ryan was too tired to argue. He got Emma into one bed, tucked her in, lay down on the other. The last thing he saw before sleep took him was Vivian sitting by the window with the gun, watching the parking lot like a sentinel. He woke to voices. Male voices, low and urgent. For a second he thought he was dreaming. Then he saw Vivian pressed against the wall by the door, gun raised, and reality crashed back. How many? Ryan whispered. 3. Outside. She looked at Emma still sleeping. We need to move. Now. There's no back exit. Window. Ryan crossed to the window on the opposite side and looked out. It faced a wooded area, darkness, and trees. Could work. He unlocked it slowly, wincing at the sound, and slid it open. Cold air rushed in. Emma. He shook her gently. Wake up, Bug. We need to go. Emma's eyes opened. She saw Vivian by the door, saw Ryan by the window, understood immediately. She grabbed Mr. Hoppy without a word. The voices outside got louder. Someone was at the door. Go! Vivian hissed. Ryan lifted Emma through the window first, lowering her as far as he could before dropping her into snow. She landed with a soft thump. Ryan went next, hitting the ground hard, pain shooting through his ribs. Vivian came through last, pulling the window closed behind her. They ran for the trees as the motel room door crashed in behind them. Someone shouted. Footsteps pounded. The forest swallowed them. Ryan grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her through the underbrush. Vivian right behind them. Branches tore at their faces. Roots tried to trip them. Emma was breathing hard but keeping up. Trust absolute. Behind them, flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Men yelling coordinates to each other. Getting closer. This way, Vivian said, veering left. They followed her deeper into the woods, away from the motel, away from the voices. Ryan had no idea where they were going, no idea if they were running towards something or just away. His lungs burned. Emma was starting to stumble. Then they broke through the tree line onto a road. Not the highway. Something smaller. And sitting on the shoulder was a semi-truck, engine idling. Driver probably taking a rest. Vivian ran toward it, knocked on the passenger door. A middle-aged woman with graying hair looked down at them, surprised. Please, Vivian said. My ex-husband. He's trying to take my daughter. Please, we need a ride. The woman looked at Emma's terrified face, at Ryan's split knuckles and bruised ribs, at Vivian's desperation. She unlocked the door. Get in. They climbed into this cab, Emma between Ryan and Vivian, the three of them cramming into a space meant for 2. The driver didn't ask questions, just put the truck in gear and pulled back onto the road. Through the passenger mirror, Ryan watched the motel recede behind them, watched dark figures emerge from the tree line, too late. Where are you headed? The driver asked. West, Vivian said. As far as you're going. I'm hauling to Seattle. That work? That's perfect. The driver nodded and focused on the road. Emma had fallen asleep against Ryan, exhausted past the point of fear. Ryan held her close and felt Vivian's hand find his in the darkness. Neither of them said anything. There was nothing left to say. They'd escaped again. But the net was getting tighter, and Ryan knew with absolute certainty that before this was over, someone was going to die. The truck driver's name was Carol, and she asked exactly 3 questions during the first 100 miles. Did they need food? Did they need to stop for a bathroom? And did they need her to call anyone? When Vivian said no to all 3, Carol turned up her country music station and left them alone with their thoughts. Emma woke up somewhere around the Idaho border, disoriented and hungry. Ryan had grabbed their backpacks when they ran, but there wasn't much inside except the hard drives and a half-empty bag of crackers from 2 days ago. Emma ate them without complaint, washing them down with water from Carol's cooler. Where are we? Emma asked. Heading to Seattle, Ryan said. We're safe right now. For how long? It was the kind of question no 7-year-old should have to ask. Ryan looked at Vivian, who was staring out the window at the dark landscape rolling past. She'd barely moved since they climbed into the cab, hand still resting near the gun tucked into her waistband. Long enough, Ryan said, because what else could he tell her? They reached the outskirts of Seattle just after dawn. Carol pulled into a truck stop off I-90 and killed the engine. This is as far as I go, she said. There's a bus station about 2 miles north. You can walk it or catch a cab. Thank you, Vivian said. You have no idea what you did for us tonight. Carol looked at them for a long moment, at Emma clutching her stuffed rabbit, at Ryan's bruised face, at Vivian's exhausted eyes. I got a daughter about your age, Carol said to Emma. If she was ever running from something bad, I'd hope somebody would help her too. She pulled out her wallet and handed Ryan 2 20s. Get your girl some breakfast, and whatever you're mixed up in, be careful. They climbed out into cold morning air that smelled like diesel and rain. Carol gave them a small wave before starting her engine and pulling back onto the highway, taking her kindness with her. Ryan counted the money in his pocket. $43, including what Carol gave them. Not enough for much. The address Marcus had sent was in downtown Seattle, which meant they needed transportation and they needed to not look like 3 people who'd been running for their lives. There's a Target about a mile from here, Vivian said, checking the burner phone. We can get cleaned up, buy some clothes that don't look like we slept in the woods. With what money? Vivian reached into her boot and pulled out a credit card. Emergency fund. The card's under a fake name, routed through 6 shell companies. It'll take them time to trace it. How much time? Enough to buy clothes and get breakfast. After that, we ditch it. Mall. They walked to the Target through streets starting to wake up with morning traffic. Emma stayed between them, quiet and watchful. Ryan noticed she'd stopped asking questions, stopped being a kid. She just followed directions and kept her eyes open. It broke something in him. Inside Target, they split up. Ryan took Emma to the kids section while Vivian grabbed clothes for herself. 10 minutes later, they met at the checkout with basics: jeans, shirts, jackets, a new backpack to replace Ryan's worn one. Vivian paid without hesitation, the cashier barely glancing at them. They changed in the bathroom, leaving their old clothes in the trash. Emma looked more like herself in clean jeans and a purple jacket. Ryan's new clothes fit wrong, but they were clean, and that was what mattered. Vivian emerged last, transformed. She'd pulled her hair back, put on a simple black sweater and dark jeans. She looked professional, put together, nothing like a woman on the run. Better, she said, studying their reflections. They found a diner 2 blocks over, ordered eggs and pancakes and coffee. Emma ate mechanically, fuel instead of enjoyment. Ryan wanted to tell her everything would be okay, but the lie wouldn't come. Vivian pushed food around her plate, barely eating, eyes constantly scanning the diner. The meeting's at noon, she said quietly. Marcus said there's a coffee shop in Pioneer Square. The journalist will be waiting. And then what? Ryan asked. Then I give her the drives and the encryption key. She publishes everything, the surveillance network, the illegal sales, all of it. Damien will come after you harder. He's already coming after me as hard as he can. Vivian set down her fork. But once it's public, killing me doesn't help him. The damage is done. His only play then is damage control. You hope. I hope. She looked at Emma. After this is over, after I hand off the evidence, you 2 need to disappear for a while. Go somewhere Damien can't find you. I'll give you money. New identities if I can arrange it. Whatever it takes to keep Emma safe. What about you? Emma asked. I'll be fine, sweetheart. You're lying, Emma said it matter-of-factly, no accusation in her voice. Grown-ups always lie when they think kids can't handle the truth. Vivian looked caught. She glanced at Ryan, who just shrugged. Emma was right. Okay, Vivian said. The truth is, I don't know if I'll be fine. Once this goes public, I'll probably be arrested. They'll charge me with something, anything, to keep me quiet while they sort out the mess. But at least the evidence will be out there. At least the people being spied on will know. That's stupid, Emma said. Emma, Ryan warned. It is. You're going to give them everything and then let them arrest you? That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Bug, Ryan said. I know that. Mom died and that wasn't fair either. But this is different. This is Vivian choosing to get hurt when she doesn't have to. Yes, I do, Vivian said gently. Because if I don't, more people get hurt. People who don't even know they're in danger. I have to do this. Emma stared at her plate. I don't want you to go to jail. I know. I want you to stay with us. The words hung there. Ryan felt his throat tighten. Vivian's eyes got bright and she looked away, blinking fast. I want that too, Vivian said finally. But sometimes we don't get what we want. They finished breakfast in silence, paid the bill, and walked toward Pioneer Square through a city Ryan barely knew. Seattle was different than Montana. More people, more noise, more everything. He kept Emma close, hyper-aware of every person who looked at them twice. The coffee shop was called Zeitgeist, tucked into a brick building near a small park. They arrived 40 minutes early and took a table in the back corner where Ryan could watch the entrance. Vivian ordered drinks they didn't touch. Emma colored on napkins with crayons the barista gave her, drawing houses with too many windows and families with too many smiles. At 11:55, a woman walked in. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, carrying a leather bag. She scanned the room, saw Vivian, and headed straight for their table. "Vivian Laurent," the woman said, not a question. "Yes. You're the journalist?" "Elena Vasquez, Washington Post. Marcus vouched for you." She sat down without waiting for permission. Her eyes took in Ryan and Emma. "Who are they?" "Friends. They're with me." "This is off the record?" "For them, yes." Elena pulled out a voice recorder and set it on the table. "Tell me everything." Vivian talked for 30 minutes, laid out the whole story. The surveillance network, the back door, Damien's illegal sales, the evidence she'd collected. Elena asked sharp questions, took notes, didn't interrupt. When Vivian finished, Elena sat back. "You know what this means, right?" Elena said. "This isn't just corporate malfeasance. This is systematic violation of privacy on a massive scale. Foreign governments involved. Possible terrorism implications. This is huge." "I know." "And you're prepared for what comes next? The lawsuits, the investigations, the death threats?" "I'm prepared." Elena looked at Ryan. "And you? How'd you get mixed up in this?" "Wrong place, wrong time," Ryan said. "He saved my life," Vivian corrected. "Multiple times. He didn't have to. He had every reason to walk away, but he didn't." "Sounds like a story." "It's not. He's a mechanic from Montana who got dragged into something that should have been handled by people with badges and authority. But those people failed, so here we are." Elena studied them for another moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let me see the evidence." Vivian pulled out the hard drives and set them on the table. 4 small devices that contained enough information to destroy a $9 billion company and implicate dozens of powerful people. "The files are encrypted," Vivian said. "I'll give you the key after we're done here. You'll need a secure system to access them. Damien has people everywhere, including in federal law enforcement. Trust no one." "I've been doing this for 20 years, Elena said. "I know how to protect sources." "This isn't about protecting me. This is about getting the truth out before they bury it." "How long do I have?" "They know I'm in Seattle. They'll be closing in. You have maybe 24 hours to verify what's on these drives and publish. After that, they'll come at you with everything. Lawyers, threats, bribes. Don't back down." "I don't back down." Elena put the drives in her bag. "What's your plan after this?" "Disappear. Lay low until the story breaks. Then turn myself into authorities I hope aren't corrupt." "That's optimistic." "That's all I have left." Elena stood, offered her hand. Vivian shook it. "Thank you," Elena said, "for trusting me with this." "Don't thank me yet. Just do the job." Elena left. Ryan watched her walk out of the coffee shop and disappear into Seattle crowds. Just like that, their entire reason for running was in the hands of a stranger. "Now what?" Ryan asked. "Now we wait." Vivian slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally catching up. "We find somewhere to hole up until Elena publishes. Then I contact the FBI and hope for the best." "And us?" "You take Emma and you go. Today. Right now. I'll give you everything I have left. 5,000 in cash, the names of people who can help you disappear. You go somewhere remote, somewhere Damien would never think to look." "No," Emma said. They both looked at her. She'd stopped coloring, was staring at Vivian with determination Ryan recognized. She'd looked the same way when she was 5 and decided she was going to climb the tree in their backyard, despite Ryan saying it was too dangerous. She'd fallen and broken her wrist, but she'd made it to the top first. "Emma, we need to—" Ryan started. "No," Emma repeated. "We're not leaving Vivian alone. That's not what families do." "We're not—" Vivian stopped. Couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes, we are," Emma said. "You live with us. You saved Dad. You tell me stories and you let me show you my drawings, and you don't treat me like a baby. That makes you family." Vivian's face crumpled. She covered it with her hands, shoulders shaking. Ryan had seen her scared, seen her angry, seen her focused and deadly. But this was the first time he'd seen her break. Emma got out of her chair and hugged Vivian, just walked over and put her small arms around her and held on. Vivian hugged back, clinging to the 7-year-old like she was the only solid thing in the world. "I'm sorry," Vivian whispered. "I'm so sorry I dragged you into this." "You didn't drag us," Emma said. "Dad chose to help you, and I chose to be brave like you." Ryan felt something crack open in his chest. He'd spent 3 years protecting Emma from everything, from grief, from fear, from the reality that the world was hard and unfair. But she'd figured it out anyway, and somehow, impossibly, she'd decided to face it head on. "We stay together, Shin," Ryan said, "until this is over. All of us." Vivian looked at him over Emma's head. "Ryan, if something happens, it won't. You don't know that." "No, but I know I'm not putting Emma in a car and driving away while you turn yourself into people who might kill you. We stay together." Vivian wanted to argue. He could see it in her face. But Emma was still hugging her, and Ryan's jaw was set, and she was too tired to fight them both. "Okay," she said. "Together." They left the coffee shop and walked through Seattle looking for a place to wait. Ryan spotted a small hotel off Pike Street, the kind that charged by the hour but didn't ask questions. They paid cash for a room and locked themselves inside. The room was depressing. Water-stained ceiling, carpet that had seen better decades, a TV that only got 3 channels. But it had a bed and a lock, and no one knew they were there. For now, that was enough. Emma fell asleep immediately, exhausted past the point of fear. Ryan sat in the chair by the window while Vivian paced, checking the burner phone every few minutes like Elena might have already published. "It'll take her time," Ryan said. "She has to verify everything." "I know, but every minute we wait is another minute for them to find us." They won't. You don't know Damien. He's got resources, people, technology I helped build. He can track credit cards, facial recognition, cell phone signals. We used a card this morning. He knows we're in Seattle. The card's under a fake name, which he'll trace. He's probably already got people at every hotel, every bus station, every rental car agency. We're running out of places to hide. She was spiraling. Ryan could see it. All the control she'd maintained these past days was starting to crack under the weight of what she'd just done. "Sit down," Ryan said. "I can't." "Sit." Vivian sat on the edge of the bed, leg bouncing, hands twisting together. Ryan moved to sit next to her. "You did the right thing," he said. "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do. You gave up your leverage, the one thing keeping you alive, because it was the right thing to do. That takes guts. Or stupidity. Maybe both." He smiled slightly. "But Emma's right. You're family now. And family doesn't let family face this alone." Vivian looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since the coffee shop. "I don't deserve you. Either of you. Probably not, but you're stuck with us anyway." She laughed, broken and watery. Then she leaned against him, just for a second, letting herself be weak. Ryan put his arm around her and held on. They sat like that for a long time. The TV played some old Western neither of them watched. Emma slept. The city moved outside their window, oblivious to 3 people hiding in a hotel room, waiting for the world to change. Ryan's phone buzzed. He'd turned his regular phone off days ago, but he'd turned it back on this morning, figuring they were already blown. The text was from a number he didn't recognize. "Damien knows where you are. Get out now." Vivian. She read the message. "Marcus. He must have been monitoring Damien's communications. How did he get my number?" "Does it matter? We need to move." They woke Emma, grabbed their things, headed for the door. Ryan checked the hallway first. Empty. They moved toward the stairs, avoiding the elevator, taking them 2 at a time. They reached the lobby and Ryan saw them immediately. 2 men in suits by the entrance, eyes scanning everyone who came through. Professional, armed, Damien's people. "Back door," Vivian whispered. They reversed course, heading through a service corridor that smelled like bleach and old food. The back door opened onto an alley. Empty. They ran for the street. A black SUV screeched to a stop at the alley entrance. Doors opened. 4 men got out. Ryan grabbed Emma and pulled her back. They were surrounded, front and back. No way out. One of the men stepped forward. Older, gray hair, expensive suit. He looked at Vivian with disappointment. "Hello, Vivian," he said. "You've led us on quite a chase." "Damien." Her voice was ice. So this was the man who'd tried to kill her. Ryan studied him. Handsome in that corporate way. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect everything. He looked like someone who'd never been told no in his life. "You look terrible," Damien said. "Montana didn't agree with you. Go to hell. After you." He nodded to his men. "Grab her. Kill the other 2. Wick." The men moved forward. Vivian pulled her gun, but there were too many of them. Too close. One grabbed her wrist, twisting until she dropped the weapon. Another shoved Ryan against the wall, hand reaching for something at his waist. Then sirens cut through the air. 3 police cruisers came around the corner, lights flashing. They screeched to a stop, officers jumping out with weapons drawn. "Everyone on the ground, now!" Damien's men hesitated. Damien looked furious, but he raised his hands, face calculating. The police swarmed them, separating everyone, shouting orders. Ryan ended up face down on the concrete with a knee in his back and handcuffs cutting into his wrists. Emma was crying somewhere nearby. Vivian was yelling something about calling her lawyer. Damien was talking calmly to an officer, probably spinning some story. They were all shoved into separate patrol cars. Ryan lost sight of Emma, and panic clawed at his chest. He tried to explain, but the officer driving ignored him, radio crackling with dispatch codes. At the police station, they were separated. Ryan was taken to an interrogation room and left alone for 2 hours. No one would tell him where Emma was. No one would answer his questions. He just sat there in handcuffs, terrified and helpless. Finally, a detective walked in. Not the one who'd called him before. Someone new. She sat across from him with a file folder. "Mr. Hale, I'm Detective Sarah Mills. You're in a lot of trouble." "Where's my daughter?" "With child services. She's safe. I want to see her." "That's not how this works. You've been harboring a fugitive, corporate espionage, theft of proprietary information, interstate flight. You're looking at serious federal charges. Vivian didn't steal anything. Damien Cross is the one breaking the law. He's selling surveillance access to criminals, foreign governments. Mr. Cross has been very cooperative. He's provided evidence that Ms. Laurent embezzled millions from Nexus Technologies and destroyed company servers before fleeing. He's quite concerned about her mental state. He tried to kill her. He says she tried to kill him, that she's been making threats for months, that she's paranoid and delusional. Ryan wanted to put his fist through the table. "Did you check the evidence? The hard drives? There's proof." "What hard drives?" Ryan's stomach dropped. "The one she gave to the journalist, Elena Vasquez, Washington Post." Detective Mills flipped through her file. "We have no record of Ms. Laurent meeting with any journalist, and we've recovered no hard drives." "Then someone took them. Someone on Damien's payroll. Or they never existed." Mills leaned forward. "Here's what I think happened. Ms. Laurent convinced you she was in danger, got you emotionally invested, maybe promised you money, then dragged you and your daughter across state lines while she tried to escape justice. And now you're taking the fall for her. That's not what happened. Then help me understand. Because right now, you're facing 10 years minimum. Your daughter goes into the system. Is that what you want?" Ryan's hands shook. This was it. This was how Damien won. He'd made Vivian look crazy, made Ryan look complicit, made the evidence disappear, and there was nothing Ryan could do about it. "I want a lawyer," Ryan said. Mills stood. "Smart choice. But lawyers cost money. You have money, Mr. Hale?" She left him alone again. Hours passed. Ryan had no sense of time, no idea what was happening outside this room. He thought about Emma with strangers, scared and alone. Thought about Vivian in another interrogation room, probably getting the same speech. Thought about how completely they'd lost. The door opened. A man walked in wearing an FBI jacket. Behind him was Marcus Webb. "Mr. Hale?" the FBI agent said. "I'm Agent Chen. this is Marcus Webb, head of security for Nexus Technologies. We need to talk about Vivian Laurent. Ryan looked at Marcus. You set us up. No? Marcus said quietly, I got you back up. Agent Chen sat down. Mr. Webb has been cooperating with a federal investigation into Nexus Technologies for 6 months. He's provided evidence of systematic illegal surveillance, data sales to hostile foreign entities, and corporate corruption at the highest levels. Your story corroborates his. Ryan couldn't process this. You're saying you believe us? I'm saying we've been building a case. Miss Laurent's evidence, the hard drive she gave to Miss Vasquez, gave us what we needed to move now instead of waiting. But we need Ms. Laurent alive and talking, and we need you to tell us everything that happened. Where's my daughter? Safe, still with child services. But once we get your statement, we'll release you both. And Vivian? That's more complicated. What does that mean? Agent Chen and Marcus exchanged a look. Marcus spoke. Damien has leverage we didn't know about. Dirt on federal prosecutors, judges, even some FBI officials. He's threatening to release it if we don't let him go. He's got enough power to walk. That's insane. That's reality. We're trying to work around it, but it takes time. How much time? Days. Maybe weeks. In the meantime, Damien goes free, and Vivian stays in custody for her own protection. Ryan stood up so fast his chair fell over. You're telling me the man who tried to kill her gets to walk while she sits in a cell? It's temporary, Agent Chen said. We're building an airtight case. But Damien's lawyers are good. They're already filing motions, calling in favors. This is going to get messy before it gets clean. I want to see her. That's not, I want to see her now, or I don't say another word without a lawyer present. Agent Chen sighed. 5 minutes, that's all I can give you. They took him through the station to the holding cells. Vivian was in the last one, sitting on a bench with her head in her hands. She looked up when she heard footsteps. Saw Ryan. Something in her face broke and rebuilt itself in the same instant. You okay? Ryan asked through the bars. Been better. Emma? Safe. They're releasing her to me soon. Brabum. Good. That's good. She stood and moved closer. Ryan, I'm sorry. For all of it. You should have stayed in Montana. Should have left me in that snow. Probably. But you didn't. And now you're here, and Emma's traumatized, and your life is destroyed. My life was pretty destroyed before you showed up. She almost smiled. I'm going to fix this. However long it takes, I'm going to make sure you and Emma are protected. Stop trying to protect us. We're not your responsibility. Yes, you are. Emma made me family, remember? And family takes care of family. Ryan looked at her through those bars and felt something shift in his chest. Something that had been locked down since Sarah died. Since he'd stopped believing the world had space for anything but survival and grief. When you get out, he said, and you will get out, come find us. Ryan, I mean it. Montana's still there. My house is still there. Come find us. You don't want that. You don't want this complication in your life. I want Emma to have someone who looks at her like she matters. I want someone who knows how to fight back. He stopped, started again. I want you to come home. Vivian's eyes filled with tears. You don't know what you're saying. Yeah, I do. Agent Chen appeared behind Ryan. Time's up. Ryan didn't move. Promise me you'll fight this. Promise me you won't give up. I promise, Vivian said. They took Ryan away. He looked back once and saw her standing there in that cell, watching him go, looking more alone than she had in the snow beside her wrecked car. He wanted to stay, wanted to break her out, wanted to do anything except walk away. But Agent Chen was waiting, and Emma needed him, and the world wasn't done being cruel yet. They released him an hour later. Emma was in a waiting room with a social worker, coloring another picture. When she saw Ryan, she ran to him, and he caught her and held on. Dad, are we going home? Emma asked. Yeah, Bug. We're going home. What about Vivian? She's staying here for a while. We're coming back for her, though, right? Ryan looked down at his daughter, at her certainty that good people didn't get left behind. Yeah, we're coming back for her. They walked out of the police station into Seattle afternoon. Marcus Webb was waiting by a car. I'll drive you to the bus station, Marcus said. Get you both home safely. What happens now? What? Ryan asked. Now? Marcus opened the car door. Now Elena Vasquez publishes the biggest corporate scandal in a decade. The evidence goes live in every newspaper and news site in the country. And Damian Cross discovers that money can't buy everything. And Vivian? Fights like hell, just like she always has. They got in the car. Marcus drove. And Ryan watched Seattle disappear behind them, carrying with it a woman who'd become family, and hoped like hell that promises meant something in a world that kept breaking them. The story broke 3 days after Ryan and Emma got home to Montana. Ryan was at the kitchen table trying to figure out how to pay rent without a job when his phone lit up with news alerts. Every major outlet was running the same headline with slight variations, but they all said the same thing. Billionaire tech CEO accused of running illegal surveillance empire. Elena Vasquez had done exactly what she'd promised. The Washington Post article was devastating, thorough, and impossible to ignore. It detailed everything. The backdoor Damian had built into Nexus Technologies' surveillance software. The sales to foreign governments and criminal organizations. The 47 million people who'd been spied on without consent. All of it backed by documents, server logs, financial records. Everything Vivian had risked her life to collect. Ryan read the article twice, then called the number Marcus had given him. Have you seen it? Ryan asked when Marcus picked up. Everyone's seen it. It's all anyone's talking about. Damian's lawyers are trying to get ahead of it, but there's too much evidence. Federal prosecutors are filing charges. International investigations are opening. His board voted to remove him this morning. And Vivian? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Still in custody, but her lawyer thinks she'll be released by end of week. The narrative's shifting. She's not the criminal anymore. She's the whistleblower. But can I talk to her? Not yet, but soon. Ryan, what she did, what you both did, it mattered. People are paying attention now. The surveillance network is being dismantled. Laws are being written. It's going to take years to fix all the damage, but at least we're trying. After they hung up, Emma came into the kitchen. She'd been quieter since Seattle. Still went to school, still did her homework, but the lightness Ryan had seen when Vivian was staying with them was gone. She looked older now, more careful. Was that about Vivian? Emma asked. Yeah, she's okay. Emma. They're going to let her go soon. Is she coming back? Ryan wanted to say yes. Wanted to promise that Vivian would walk through their door any day now and everything would go back to how it was. But he'd learned the hard way that promises about other people were just wishes dressed up as facts. I don't know, Bug. She's got a lot to deal with. Her company, the lawsuits, rebuilding her life. But you told her to come find us. I did. So she will. She promised. Emma said it with such certainty that Ryan almost believed it. Almost. The days turned into weeks. Ryan found work at a different garage across town. The pay was worse, but they didn't ask questions about why he'd left his last job or where he'd been. Emma went back to her routine. Mrs. Chen still watched her after school. Life moved forward because that's what life did, even when you wanted it to pause. Ryan followed the news obsessively. Damian Cross was arrested 2 weeks after the article broke. His bail was set at $50 million, which he paid without blinking. But his empire was crumbling. Nexus Technologies was facing lawsuits from 47 million victims. Their stock price crashed. Their government contracts were canceled. Partners fled. Investors sued. The company Vivian had built was being torn apart because of what Damian had done to it. Vivian herself stayed out of the public eye. Ryan saw her mentioned in articles, usually in the context of former CEO turned whistleblower, but she didn't give interviews or make statements. Marcus said she was cooperating with federal investigators, providing testimony, helping them understand the full scope of what Damian had built. But she didn't call, didn't write, didn't come back to Montana. Ryan told himself it made sense. She was busy. She was dealing with things he couldn't imagine. She'd made it clear from the beginning that she was just passing through his life, that he shouldn't get attached, that this wasn't permanent. But Emma asked about her every day. Has Vivian called yet? And every day Ryan had to say no and watch his daughter's face fall a little more. Christmas came. Ryan put up the tree, strung the lights, did all the things he was supposed to do. Emma made ornaments at school and hung them carefully. One was a drawing of 3 people holding hands, labeled "My Family" in crayon. When Ryan asked who the third person was, Emma just looked at him like it was obvious. On Christmas Eve, Ryan was cleaning up after dinner when someone knocked on the door. He wasn't expecting anyone. Mrs. Chen was visiting her son in California. Frank from the old garage had made it clear Ryan wasn't welcome at their annual party. He opened the door, ready to tell whoever it was that they had the wrong house. Vivian stood on his porch. She looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was shorter, cut to her shoulders. She wore a simple coat and jeans, no expensive labels, nothing that screamed billionaire. She had a duffel bag over one shoulder and snow in her hair. "Hi," she said. Ryan just stared at her. All the things he'd planned to say if she ever showed up, all the questions and accusations and relief, they all jammed in his throat. "Can I come in?" Vivian asked. "It's freezing out here." He stepped aside. She walked past him into the house she'd lived in for less than 2 weeks, but had changed everything about. Emma was in the living room watching a Christmas special. She looked up when Vivian walked in, and for a second nobody moved. Then Emma screamed, "Vivian!" and launched herself across the room. Vivian dropped her bag and caught her, both of them holding on like they were afraid the other might disappear. "You came back," Emma said, crying into Vivian's shoulder. "I knew you would. I told Dad you would. I'm sorry it took so long." Vivian was crying too. "I wanted to come sooner, but there were things I had to handle, things I had to fix. I don't care. You're here now." Ryan watched them from the doorway, something tight in his chest finally loosening. Vivian looked up and met his eyes over Emma's head. She looked uncertain, afraid, like she thought Ryan might tell her to leave. Instead he said, "You hungry? I made too much dinner." She smiled through her tears. Starving. They sat at Ryan's kitchen table like they had a dozen times before. Emma wouldn't let go of Vivian's hand, kept touching her like she needed proof this was real. Vivian told them about the past 2 months. The interrogations, the lawyers, the testimony before Congress, the slow process of dismantling everything Damien had built and trying to rebuild Nexus Technologies into something that actually helped people instead of exploiting them. "I stepped down as CEO, Vivian said. "Officially. Marcus is taking over. He'll do a better job than I ever did." "That's not true," Ryan said. "It is. I was so focused on building the company, on proving I could succeed, that I missed what was happening right under my nose. I missed Damien's corruption because I was in love with him, and I wanted to believe he was good." She looked at Emma. "But I'm done missing things that matter. I'm done letting work come before people." "So what are you going to do?" Ryan asked. "That depends. I came here to ask you something, and you can say no. You probably should say no, but I'm asking anyway." She took a breath. "Can I stay?" Ryan set down his coffee mug. "Stay as in visit for a few days, or stay as in stay, move in? Help with Emma? Help around the house? Get a job maybe, something normal. Something that doesn't involve surveillance software, or board meetings, or any of the things that made me into someone I didn't like very much." "You're a billionaire, Vivian. You don't need to get a job in Montana. Actually, I'm not. Not anymore." She smiled slightly. "I gave it away. Most of it. Set up a foundation to help the people who were hurt by Nexus Technologies' surveillance. Victims of domestic violence who were stalked through our software. Kids whose privacy was violated. Families who were targeted. The foundation will provide legal help, counseling, financial support. Everything I should have been doing from the beginning." "How much did you keep?" "Enough to be comfortable. Not enough to be obscene. I figured I didn't need $9 billion to be happy. I just needed to know I was doing something that mattered." Emma was beaming. "Does that mean you're staying forever?" "If your dad says yes, if you both want me here." "We want you here," Emma said immediately. "Right, Dad?" Ryan looked at Vivian, really looked at her, at the exhaustion in her eyes and the hope trying to hide underneath it, at the way she was holding Emma's hand like she'd forgotten how, at the duffel bag by the door that contained probably everything she owned now. "You know what you're signing up for?" Ryan asked. "This house is small. The town is smaller. There's no tech empire to run, no fancy restaurants, no excitement. It's just regular life. Boring, broke, barely scraping by regular life. Sounds perfect. Emma leaves her toys everywhere. I work long hours. We eat a lot of mac and cheese. The truck breaks down constantly. The roof leaks when it rains. This isn't some fairy tale, Vivian. I know. That's why I want it. She looked down at her hands. I spent my whole life chasing success, building something bigger, making more money, proving I was smart enough, tough enough, good enough. And you know what I learned? Success doesn't keep you warm at night. Money doesn't care if you're lonely. And all the power in the world means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. She looked up at Ryan. These past 2 months, I kept thinking about the time I spent here, in this house with you and Emma, and it was terrifying. Every minute of it, I was afraid someone was going to hurt you because of me. But it was also the happiest I've been in years. Because for the first time since my father died, I felt like I was part of something real. Emma asked me once what you were going to be to us, Ryan said quietly. I didn't have an answer then. Do you have one now? Whatever you'll let me be. Friend, roommate, partner, family, if you want that. I'm not asking for promises or commitment or anything you're not ready to give. I'm just asking for a chance to be part of your lives, if you'll have me. Emma looked at Ryan with those wide eyes that could convince him of anything, but he didn't need convincing. The truth was, he'd made his decision the moment he opened the door and saw Vivian standing there. Maybe he'd made it even earlier, in a Seattle interrogation room when he'd told her to come find them. Or maybe he'd made it the night he pulled her from that snowbank and decided her life was worth saving. Okay, Ryan said. You can stay. Emma cheered. Vivian closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. And Ryan thought about how strange life was, how it took the things you thought you wanted and replaced them with things you didn't know you needed. He'd thought he needed money, stability, a safe, quiet life where nothing bad could happen to Emma. What he got instead was a wanted woman, a cross-country chase, and more terror than he'd felt since Sarah died. But he also got this moment in his kitchen with his daughter, smiling, and a woman who'd fought her way back to them. This feeling that maybe, possibly, life was giving him a second chance at something he thought was gone forever. They spent Christmas together. Just the three of them, opening presents Ryan could barely afford, and eating cookies Emma had made with Vivian's help. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't perfect. Emma's cookies were burned on the bottom, and the tree lights kept flickering, and the heat wasn't working right, so they all huddled under blankets. But it was theirs. The trial started in March. Damian Cross faced 47 counts of illegal surveillance, conspiracy, fraud, and about a dozen other charges Ryan couldn't keep track of. The prosecution's case was airtight, built on the evidence Vivian had collected and Marcus had protected. Damian's lawyers tried everything, questioned Vivian's credibility, suggested she was the mastermind, attacked her character and her mental state. Vivian testified for 3 days. Ryan took time off work to be there, sitting in the gallery while she walked the jury through everything Damian had done. She didn't waver, didn't break, answered every question with the same calm precision she'd shown that night when she'd shot 2 men to protect Emma. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Damian was sentenced to 32 years in federal prison. His assets were seized to pay restitution to his victims. His name became shorthand for corporate corruption, and Vivian walked out of that courtroom free. She came home to Montana and cried for an hour in Ryan's arms, letting go of something she'd been carrying for too long. It's over, she kept saying. It's finally over. But it wasn't over. Not really. The ending wasn't some dramatic moment in a courtroom. It was quieter than that. Slower. It was Vivian getting a job at Emma's school, teaching computer science to kids who'd never seen a billionaire before and didn't care that she'd once been one. It was coming home to dinner already started, to Emma's homework spread across the table, to Ryan fixing the truck in the driveway with grease on his hands and peace on his face. It was learning how to be normal, how to grocery shop and do laundry and argue about whose turn it was to take out the trash. It was movie nights and school plays and Emma's birthday party where half the class showed up and destroyed the house. It It was Ryan coming home one day to find Vivian painting Emma's room, both of them covered in purple paint and laughing about something stupid. It was the way his heart did something complicated when he saw them together. How Emma had started calling Vivian by her name without the hesitation. How Vivian looked at Emma like she'd fight the world to keep her safe. It was late nights after Emma was asleep, sitting on the porch with Vivian while she talked about her father, about the dreams she'd given up, about how strange it was to have money and power and then walk away from it, about how she didn't miss it as much as she thought she would. It was Ryan, finally, carefully, asking if maybe this thing between them was more than just cohabitation and co-parenting. And Vivian looking at him like she'd been waiting for him to ask. It was their first kiss, tentative and awkward, both of them out of practice. It was deciding that maybe they could try this, whatever this was, if they went slow and didn't screw it up for Emma's sake. It was Emma coming downstairs one morning and seeing them making breakfast together, Vivian's hand on Ryan's back while he scrambled eggs, and saying finally like she'd been waiting for the adults to catch up. A year passed, then another. Emma got older, got taller, lost the baby softness in her face. The nightmares from Seattle faded. She stopped asking if the bad men were coming back, started believing that home was safe, that the people in it would stay. Vivian's foundation grew. She worked remotely, managing programs and fundraising, helping people put their lives back together after Nexus Technologies had torn them apart. It wasn't as flashy as running a tech empire, but she said it mattered more. Said she went to bed at night actually proud of what she'd done that day. Ryan got promoted at the garage. Not a huge leap, but enough to ease the constant financial pressure. Enough to breathe. He started taking Emma camping on weekends, teaching her the things his own father had taught him. Vivian came too, even though she'd never been camping in her life and was terrible at it. She couldn't start a fire, couldn't tie proper knots, couldn't tell a pine from a spruce. But she tried. That was the thing about Vivian. She always tried. They never got around to making it official. No wedding, no ceremony. It felt unnecessary. They were already family in all the ways that counted. But 2 years after Vivian came back to Montana, on a Christmas Eve that looked a lot like the one where she'd first shown up, Emma asked the question everyone had been dancing around. They were decorating the tree, the three of them, hot chocolate in hand and music playing. Emma hung an ornament she'd made that year, another drawing of 3 people holding hands. Then she turned to Vivian with that serious expression she got when she was thinking hard about something. "So when are you officially becoming my mom?" Emma asked. Ryan froze. Vivian's hand stopped halfway to the tree, ornament dangling from her fingers. "Emma, that's not—" Ryan started. "Why not?" Emma looked between them. "You live here. You help with my homework. You come to my school stuff. You made me soup when I was sick. You tell me stories and you tuck me in and you love me. That's what moms do." Vivian's eyes filled with tears. She set down the ornament carefully and knelt in front of Emma. "Sweetheart, I'm not your mom. You had a mom. She loved you very much. I know that. I remember her, but she's gone." Emma's voice wavered, but she pushed through. "And you're here. You chose to be here. You chose to stay even when you didn't have to. Doesn't that count?" "It counts," Vivian whispered. "It counts for everything. Then why can't you be my mom too?" "Dad says people can have more than one person who loves them. That love doesn't run out." Ryan felt his throat close up. He had said that years ago when Emma was crying over missing Sarah. He told her that missing someone didn't mean she couldn't love other people, that her heart was big enough for everyone. He just hadn't expected her to use it against him. Vivian looked at Ryan, asking permission without words. He nodded, unable to speak. "Okay," Vivian said, pulling Emma into her arms. "Okay, if you want me to be your mom, I'll be your mom. Nothing would make me happier." Iseu. Emma hugged her tight. "Promise you won't leave. I promise. I'm not going anywhere. Even if something bad happens? Even if people come after you again? Even then, because I learned something important." Vivian pulled back to look at Emma's face. Power doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the people who love you and the people you love back. Everything else is just noise. Ryan watched them hold each other and thought about how far they'd all come. From a snowbank in Montana to this living room. From strangers to something deeper than blood. From surviving to actually living. His daughter had chosen Vivian the way Vivian had chosen them. Not because they had to, not because it was easy, but because sometimes the family you build is stronger than the family you're born with. Because sometimes the people who save you aren't the ones you expect. Because sometimes second chances come when you're not looking for them, and the best thing you can do is be brave enough to take them. Later that night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan and Vivian sat on the porch in the cold. The sky was clear, stars bright overhead. Everything was quiet except the wind in the trees and their breathing. "You okay?" Ryan asked. "Yeah." Vivian leaned against him. "Better than okay. I was just thinking about that night when you found me." "What about it?" "I was so angry. At Damien, at myself, at how everything had fallen apart. I thought my life was over, that everything I'd built was gone, and I had nothing left. And now? Now I know I was wrong. My life wasn't ending. It was just changing into something better." She looked up at him. "You gave me that. You and Emma. You gave me a life worth living instead of just surviving. You did that yourself. We just gave you a place to land. That's more than you think." She was quiet for a moment. "My father used to say that wealth wasn't about money. It was about knowing you'd be okay no matter what happened. Having people who'd catch you if you fell. I didn't understand what he meant until I met you." Ryan kissed the top of her head. "For what it's worth, you caught us too." They sat there until the cold drove them inside, made their way to bed, to the life they'd accidentally built together. And Ryan thought about how you never really know what you're saving when you stop to help someone. How that decision in the snow had led to this moment, this family, this strange, beautiful, ordinary life. Some people spend their whole existence chasing extraordinary things, building empires, making millions, changing the world. And those things matter. They do. But so does this. The quiet nights and simple mornings. The feeling of being known completely and loved anyway. The knowledge that you're not alone, that you're part of something bigger than yourself, that someone out there chose you and keeps choosing you every single day. Vivian had given up billions to find this. Ryan had risked everything to protect it. Emma had opened her heart to accept it. And in the end, that was worth more than all the money and power in the world. Because the difference between surviving and living isn't about what you have. It's about who you have. It's about being brave enough to let people in even when you're terrified they'll leave. It's about choosing love over fear, over and over, until one day you wake up and realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're home.